Hi, hi, hi. Okay, so we are already on episode 7 of season 19, and this one was different. Definitely different. We had a lot of very distinct changes going on in the Brown family between Christine preparing to get married and Cody helping Meri move some furniture out. It was very different. But hi, if you're new here, my name's Cozy. I like to talk about sister wives and related reality television shows here on YouTube. I do like to remind you my videos are for entertainment purposes only. These are not facts. They are just my opinions about public figures sharing their lives on television. So if we're cool, we're cool. All right. Before we get started, though, firstly, definitely feeling the Halloween vibes today. My kids are really excited. Trick or treat is going on, and they're going to have school parties. And so when I said, what should I paint my nails? And I didn't have a pumpkin orange, the kids said, let's do this. They're vampire colors. I am not a vampire for Halloween. Every year I wear a unicorn costume, so I don't know. Also, secondly, I just wanted to say thank you to everybody who watches my videos, like a deep, sincere thank you. My husband and I behind the scenes have been trying to figure out exactly what our budget for Christmas was going to be for our kids and our niece and nephew. And I had come up with a number in my head that I hadn't said out loud, just kind of as a benchmark for myself. And today I got on to the creator page for YouTube and discovered that thanks to you guys watching the videos and the generosity of those who have given super thanks, I'm on track to hit the exact number that I thought I needed. I I just I can't even say thank you enough. I mean, the exact number. I don't know how to explain that other than to say that not only are you guys amazing, God is good, and let's keep going. All right. So, let's buckle up because this was over the top apathy versus love. And the primary reason is, I hate to say it, Cody Brown himself, because frankly, I feel like we could have done this entire episode without him. I know that that's going to sound insane because there's a lot of things that he says, but really, I would have rather seen Meri have a long conversation with her sister and Nathan over the whole thing with Cody. That's just my opinion. But he tells us that Meri's moving to Utah, Parowan specifically, and he says she's just doing the kind of things that you do when your life changes. And I guess that's the truth. Some people do move, some people take on different responsibilities, but it's also kind of influenced by the fact that she owns her business. It is 5 hours away. And when you Google Maps it, because I didn't know exactly where Parowan is, there are 3 routes that you can take from Flagstaff to Parowan. One goes through Las Vegas, but that adds an additional hour. One goes through St. George, and the last one goes through nothing that's a landmark for this show. I just thought it was funny. And then I got distracted for like 10 minutes looking at weird names of different places in Utah and Arizona because apparently I'll do anything to avoid more of Angry Cody. Nathan and Rebecca definitely hair coming though for Meri's old furniture. And since Nathan happens to be Cody's best friend, Cody has to be involved. Clearly, that's all it works. Meri lets us know that those two are definitely in the loop of what's going on. And I wonder what that's got to be like. Because obviously, Rebecca and Meri clearly talk. And I would bet that Nathan and Cody talk. So do they just come together and compare notes? Because I feel like otherwise it's super awkward. Cody's reflecting on helping Christine move out and helping her load the trailer. I would argue he didn't really help her move out. He did help her fill that trailer that one time. Fair enough. And as I recall, she didn't really want your help with that. You kind of showed up and stayed. But he's like, I think that was our last fight. So they give us the clip where Christine's telling him, I'm going to be in charge of this. And as I recall, he took that super duper extra well, right? Right? He scoffs to himself and he says that he doesn't really know the rules of divorce. I mean, he doesn't know what it's supposed to be like. And he says he's going to help Meri do what needs to be done and to call any time. But honestly, it just doesn't sound particularly genuine to me. Meri brings Nathan and Rebecca into the house and she's like, do you like this furniture? Would you like to take it home? And they would, actually. Thank you. Rebecca, though, says, are you sure this has been part of your house for forever? And Meri's like, yeah, listen, I got it with Cody when we first moved to Vegas. And Nathan's like, so why do you need to let it go? Well, of course, she's moving to the B&B and it's already furnished. So, plus the release is done, 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 she says. And so Nathan's like, wait, how do you mean? And Meri says, well, after 32 years, I'm a single woman. Now, my husband was under the impression that Nathan was very much fishing for information for Cody. I kind of thought this whole interaction sounded significantly more producer driven. Nathan pauses and this look crosses his face, like he's kind of having some sort of processing, where he says to Meri, "How old were you when you and Cody got married?" And she was 19. And after 3 decades, it's super strange for her to be single. And so this is entirely different. And I can't even imagine. I am just barely 3 decades old if you think about it, and I can't process what that would be like. She has 30 years of growth and change and several years where she's been developing her life on her own. I mean, alone, not alone, it's complicated. She's still trying to wrap her head around it all. Nathan does check in on her feelings, and she's like, "Listen, I've had varied emotions this whole time." She cried a lot the week after, and she explains that she did go through the church, and he says, "Well, do you feel like they handled it well? Do you think they were fair to you?" And then at that point I was like, maybe husband's on to something, maybe he is fishing, but then he continues and asks, "Do you feel like they listened to you?" And Meri's like, "I do think it was good for me." And I'm sure in a lot of ways it was, because the prophet of the AUB is not a stranger to plural marriage. And he can relate to her in a way that, I mean, none of us can. We don't live like that. And I'm sure just having the reassurance that the process was handled and her voice was heard by someone in that sphere probably did wonders to heal her heart and soul. But Nathan's face betrays him. And she says, "Well, Cody probably would say otherwise." And she points out, we've already had the divorce, and now we've had the divorce. So she's basically a double D now, and everyone just starts giggling. So Meri's reflecting on her legal divorce and how she had done it for the benefit of Robin and Robin's kids. And the clip of a very similarly dressed Meri and Robin, do we all remember the coral pink blazer that both of them wore to the divorce? It gets me every single time. In all honesty, had I been Robin and I really didn't know, I'd have gone home and changed, or just not gone at all. I can't imagine what it has to be like sitting in that lawyer's office with the now ex-wife and the woman he's going to marry sitting right there. She believes Cody really misunderstands her emotions, because he talks about how she lost this power when she gave up the legal marriage. And she wasn't even aware he was giving her power. She's like, "I didn't know being the first wife gave me some special powers." Now, from listening to interviews with former polygamists, it does seem fairly common that the first wife holds some sort of power in the dynamic, but it also seems equally plausible that it would be the favorite wife that would hold that power. So maybe there is something unspoken in a way that Meri lost out to Robin, or perhaps this is Cody's way of admitting that he gave Robin that final say, that final power, without outright saying it to anybody at any point. She's like, it felt weird and insulting because she doesn't feel that way. She doesn't feel like she lost power. So him continually saying that feels like an insult. And I would think it would feel insulting for your husband to essentially say that he's giving the wife power to someone else anyway. So we get the flashback of her reading her divorce decree, and those words hit hard. She says it's kind of a mind game on her, and I would have liked some more clarification, because there's a couple of interpretations, and I know that our Sister Wives fandom is going to take it in one direction or the other. Because, of course, it could be the mind game of the power dynamic shift, or it could be the speculation that it was an actual mind game, that she was tricked into this divorce in the first place. Because there are plenty of people who allege that Meri was tricked into it. And I wasn't there, but I think that Meri felt like she was doing the best thing that she could. She knew that the relationship was not in a solid place when she chose to have the legal divorce, and so that makes it even more scary. And she knew in that moment things were going to change. And she knew some of the other wives were afraid and had a lot of concerns. We don't flash back, but she mentions the conversation where Janelle tells Cody that she's concerned about it. And I'm sure that a lot of us remember that conversation. It was the one where she tells Cody that she's worried he's going to abandon everyone else and ride off into the sunset with Robin. And golly gee, I am sure glad that never happened. She says he had a conversation with Janelle, and Janelle brought all of these things up. And then there's this long pause where I was like, "Just say it, Meri, it did." And she goes, "It did." Meaning everything changed. Nathan asks her about getting rid of a lot of things, and what's her plan for all these things that are tied up in 32 years of memories. So she relays that Cody had been there the other day and asked her, "You're getting rid of this? Isn't this furniture sentimental?" And she's like, "Sentimental to what? A broken marriage?" So Nathan's like, "Is that how you see it?" And she's like, "Yes, of course it is, because it is fundamentally broken." Robin hops in on the couch and tells us Mary's moving to Parowan, and that's really painful and hard for her. And her heart has gone out to her so much for how long she's held on. Am I hallucinating, or did you guys not sit on some of that same furniture last season when you begged her to hang on with you? Am I going insane? But now you want her to what? Okay, you want her to find happiness, and your heart goes out to her for how long she held on, and you asked her to do... Okay, I have to move on before my brain explodes. Meri shares with Nathan and Rebecca that she and Cody had this phone conversation recently. This phone conversation. My kids don't know that this is phone. They think it's this, and that's insane to me. It's this, clearly. Where he says that this is the point where our relationship failed. And she's like, nope, it was a lot different for me. And how many times are they having this conversation? Because we saw it on camera, sitting in the chairs, and then there's this phone call now, and she's like, he kept disagreeing, and finally she was like, listen, that's not how it was for me, bye, and hangs up. She refuses to engage with him anymore when he's all riled up, and she doesn't have to. It serves no purpose. But, like, why are you guys still addressing this? I mean, I'm going to invent the phone call that I think happened. And let me be clear, this is all fiction. All of this is just made up. So we start with Meri. Hey, so Nathan and Rebecca are coming for the furniture, and I was wondering if they could use your trailer, and maybe you'd like to come over, visit with them, and help out? Nathan? My best friend, Nathan? Will the crew be there? Yeah, I think that's the plan. Well, then I have to come, because I don't want them to get the wrong idea about what's happening between us. You know, since the church already has the wrong impression, and this was all bad from day one. End scene. Thank you. Thank you. No applause needed. That was just ridiculous. Rebecca asked, was there like a defining moment in your opinion where everything ended? And she's like, no, I can't really pinpoint one. Cody himself has set different times for his defining moment, and she brings up the catfishing. Like, you could say it was that, but that's not necessarily it. And she recognizes that happened. She recognizes that that's a fault of hers, but she wants to know what led up to that time in her life. And she wants to address his comments that the problem, the storm that is Meri, started a year or two into their marriage. And we flash back to that first episode and get this voiceover of Cody saying, we were dysfunctional from the beginning. Well, the flashback they give us, they don't look dysfunctional at all. And he doesn't say, he says he doesn't get how Meri can sit here and say that there were great times, because if this is great, he surely doesn't want it. And she points out that the new narrative of no good times ever is super confusing, because she's like, we have a lot of video and photos of good times, the good in our relationship. And she's not wrong. They even show us clips of that trip to Mexico. They show us clips of other like events where he was close with Meri. They don't look dysfunctional. Nathan asked, have you spoken with Christine and Janelle? And Mary's like, no, you know what? We aren't sister wives anymore. And there's a lot of things that I need to wrap my head around and figure out. And Rebecca's like, you know, Cody doesn't really seem like the same person that I've known. But Nathan does rightly point out that the person you marry is not the person you divorce. Meri does agree. And she also says he doesn't seem like the happy person he used to be. So she agrees with Nathan, and she agrees with Rebecca. Cody defends in his talking head. He's angry. And it's not that he's grumpy, which, so we're all clear, legitimately, those are not the same thing. Anger is defined as emotion, and grumpy is a mood. Why do I tell you this? Listen, because I checked to see if there was a difference, because I was like, don't those mean the same thing? There actually is one. So, fine, Cody, you win this round, but you know what? Those still aren't carameled apples. Yeah, I'm petty. That's why you're here. He does say he has resting a-hole face, which I thought that was RBF, but do men have RAF and we have RBF? I don't know. Janelle says that Cody's always been super intense, even if he's just talking to you seriously. And Robin's like super animated when she was like, oh, no, I hate that. I call it his murder face, and I tell him he can't use it on the kids. And so she pantomimes says, get in your pajamas. And she's like, whoa, that's too scary. Back it up a notch, lift the eyebrows. And honestly, the lifted eyebrows face is so much worse. It is so, here's Johnny. And on it, you know what? The first one just feels like every dad who's angry and has said to his kids like 8 times to do the same thing and finally is fed up. I'm taking the first phase. I don't want the lifted eyebrows. It freaked me out. Nope. It's at this point that Cody arrives and apparently needs Nathan to help him, which was probably code for, can you come out here so I can talk to you privately? But the ladies head outside anyway. And on the couch, they both agree, this is awkward. Nathan greets Cody at the truck by opening up the door for him like the gentleman that he is, and Meri is trying to break up this little reunion just to get Cody's attention to be like, hey, there is a lot of ice. You probably want to back up more. And no, it's bro time, and she and Rebecca are giggling as Meri's like, yoo-hoo, Cody. She does finally get his attention, and he insists, I'm coming to look at it. But listen, it makes sense. He's going to have to come up here and look at this and look around and make a plan because, well, he's been here like, what, 5 times? Meri says is getting rid of this furniture is just getting rid of something deep inside of her that she needs gone. And so Cody greets Rebecca and cautions Meri on the ice as she's like doing this little ice dance. And she's like, I'm just having fun. Before determining more shoveling needs to be done. He wants to drop the ramp as close to the door as possible, which makes sense because less ice, more safety. I understand. Meri says that they're divorced and she doesn't know what this looks like now. So then we're going to hop over to the next much too long bit, in my opinion, because it is David and Christine's pre-engagement search for a wedding venue. Listen, Moab's gorgeous, and I certainly don't mind seeing the sights. I could see more of Moab, but we already know the venue. We've already seen the wedding, and we arrive at this red earth venue, and it's lovely, and there's nothing to obstruct the views. But it does just sort of look like a glass building in the middle of open space. So we're at the end of January 2023. They met at the beginning of December 2022. Now, I thought it was November. I guess it's December, whatever. But this has been very, very quick. And they've brought Truly, Isabel, and David's son Max with them. And Max and Isabel actually seem to get along really well, which is lovely. I can imagine, though, it's probably easy for Isabel to get along with others. She has 17 other siblings. Max has 7 other siblings. This can't be that difficult. But Isabel gets a talking head where she's sharing that she's super happy for her mom. And Christine is sparkling. But this is fast, and it is much faster than she would like. She mentions that there are wonderful things about David. He's great with Truly. He's smit with Christine. His kids are phenomenal. But that doesn't mean this isn't fast. And it is. Now listen, husband and I looked at each other and were like, we have no room to talk. For us, it was when you know, you know. And we knew. We met and were married in a year and 5 days. It has been 7 years of marriage, and I still think that we picked right. Like, I still think we picked right. I mean, the wrong person probably wasn't sticking around for all of this brain surgery stuff. But I understand Isabel's fear and concerns. They meet with the lady from the venue, whose name I did not catch initially, and she congratulates them on their engagement, which has not happened yet. And Christine's like, he has me on lock, we need the venue on lock. And she's like, I don't really know when to do everything, which makes sense, given her history. But they know the venue's super important because without a venue, how do you tell people where to be and when? And Janelle's like, Christine came for a visit and she was telling us all about David. This feels soon, but you know, when you know, they say. And I have to admit, it seems really slow actually compared to her courtship with Cody because she went on one date with Cody where they got engaged and then they got married a month later. And listen, I understand the confines of their religion that they were in. So I get that that's why, but this does seem a lot slower to that, technically. And so, when I look at where Christine came from, this probably feels like forever for her, because she says they've been dating for 6 weeks to 2 months. And to put that in perspective, I really think if I am doing my math correctly, her courtship with David was slightly longer, if not equal to Cody and Robin's. So, and you know what, honestly, we don't give Cody and Robin that much guff for how quickly theirs moved, but we give Christine and David a lot of guff for theirs. And I don't quite understand that. But yeah, putting it in perspective, that's about where we're at. David explains he loves Moab. He loves the red cliffs. He loves the history. He mentions it's like traveling 200 million years ago when the dinosaurs roamed. And I can see what he's saying from the B-roll that we're shown. He wanted to share this with someone, but any woman he's ever taken there has never wanted to go back. He determined whatever woman will love Moab like he does, that's the one. So they enter the space, and Truly is trying to like sneak in between David and Christine, which knocks Christine right into the door frame. And she vocalizes that Truly keeps trying to get in between her and David, and she doesn't know what to tell her, but they're going to be together. And like, I've been a kid her age, I have a kid similar in age, and I can't honestly tell if this is like a signal like, hey, I'm uncomfortable, I don't like this, or if this is just a game that Truly is playing that's like annoying to the adults, so she keeps doing it because it's more fun for her if it's annoying you. Because I know my own kid, I know that that can go either way. Christine does say she doesn't even know if Cody knows about her and David, which, oof. She justifies that by saying he stopped telling about things in his life a long time ago. And I did outwardly cringe at this part because Cody is a part of Truly's life in some capacity, and it would be right to tell him if you're going to get remarried. And it would be right for Cody to tell Christine important things that are going to affect their daughter. It goes both ways. This is not one way or the other. She does say she doesn't update him on anything, and I admit, I don't love that. Okay, bye, Graham. The venue's okay. People are probably going to gush over it, and that's fine. The neutrality of the colors, I won't lie, at first glance, I genuinely thought the ceiling was made of plywood. In fact, it felt like the whole room gave off this very plywood color vibe. Like, I get the open canvas idea that they're going for, and the idea that the rocks should speak for themselves alongside of all the wedding decorations, but it comes off kind of plywood. So Cody comes to crap on marriage for us, and he says marriages are supposed to be eternal, and then scoffs and questions, why do people who don't know each other get married if you think you're stuck together forever? And so he's like, I've heard rumors that Christine is dating and that she's found her soulmate, and she's very excited about the relationship. And Cody's offended for her at the idea that she would be stuck with him for eternity when her soulmate was out there somewhere to be found. David admits that some of his kids did have doubts at the beginning because he had dated for so long and hadn't found anyone. But they've started to come around seeing how David and Christine interact and are handling things together. He knew that there's not a point in waiting for forever because they have a lot of vacations to go on. And back at the venue, we see how they open up the back walls and make that indoor-outdoor space merge. Christine explains that, yet again, as the third wife, she was expected to have a small gathering for her wedding, and she agreed it was inappropriate for her to have something giant back then. The first marriage in a polygamous family can have anything at once. It can have it all. But the second and third, they can't. She points out how ridiculous it is in a church that supports polygamy that polygamous marriages are kept really hush-hush. And she thinks every marriage deserves a party because it's still a marriage after all. And Cody's like, a lot of the pressure to marry Christine came from how long he'd known her, how much he liked her family. And then there's that fact that she's polygamy royalty. And Christine counters with, the polygamy royalty thing is something that came from Cody. I don't care about that. But back at the venue, the capacity does seem to be an issue because the family is huge and they're going to have a lot of people coming. And she has no idea how big it will actually get. And I finally catch Angela's name as Christine says this venue is not going to work out and gives her a hug. It's just not big enough. So they're going to go off to their next venue. So we're going to call it there for the first half of the episode because, number one, I don't want these to get super duper crazy long, but number two, the second half of the episode is significantly more about Cody and Meri with just little tidbits of Christine and David finding the venue that they did ultimately get married at. So we'll cut it there and we'll come back for the second half of this here really shortly because, frankly, there's no reason to wait too long. If you've made it this far, I want to know, what are you being for Halloween? What's the Halloween costume? Are you doing family costumes? If you're doing family costumes, just give me the general idea. That's fine. You don't have to, give me all the details if you want to. But I'm just curious, what is everybody being for Halloween? Because I'm a unicorn. I'm a unicorn every year, and I'm a unicorn this year. And that's just how it is, because that is the costume I have, and I don't spend a ton of money on costumes. And my family didn't want to do family costumes this year. Boo. All right, so let me know what you're going to be for Halloween down in the comments below, and I can't wait to see you again soon. Bye, guys.